We're Malin and Johan, a Swedish couple that have been sailing full-time since 2016. After 3.5 years of sailing, we welcomed our daughter Vera on board. In 2022, we moved in to Sunhill Farm and started building our next boat from scratch. We're now 1.5 years into the build, and there have been many big jobs in building the hull. During the first month of this year, we sanded and faired the hull and applied a base coat. And now we're preparing the final steps for our biggest operation yet, to turn the hull over.
It will be like a square wheel where the whole hull sits in the middle of that.
After a few days of work, Johan had finished the first turning wheel and had started working on the 3 others.
So the frames are more or less finished now, and I have started with the bracing, or these that will really lock the hull in place within the frame. It's been quite a lot of work getting this far, and I've been using quite a lot of lumber, as you can see, but it's okay since we can use some of this later on for other projects that we have here on the farm. And I don't want to take any chances now when we're turning the hull, so I much rather overdo it. It's pretty obvious now that it's going to be really sturdy, so I won't be worried about this part of the whole operation, that the frames won't be strong enough. But there's plenty of stuff to worry about in this whole operation, so if I can eliminate one, that feels really nice, and I think I have done that now by really, making these frames as strong as possible. So I hope I can be totally finished with the frames, maybe 1 or maybe 2 more days, and then it's time to start mounting those wheels. I tried to make all of these from scrap pieces, and just put some carpet, same type of carpet that we have on the cradle boxes. Also some type of anti-slip mat from rubber in some places. And I also put in these beams to keep everything together in the correct position up there, because there's really nothing up on the hull where I can screw anything into the hull. So what I'm doing is that I'm using the locks, or chokes I think you call it in English, to keep everything in place, and then I will use a strap between all the frames and pull them together so they can't really move in this direction. I have also put straps on the cradle boxes to pull them tight down to the hull so they can't move in the lengthwise direction, and that will also help keeping the frames in place.
I'm trying to take control over this
side of our garden. It's basically full of invasive weeds like nettles, and it's fine to have a little, but it's here it's covered over like 1,000 square meters. So now I've cut most of it down, and now we'll program the Luba, our robot mower, so we can cut this area as well, because it's a really nice area. There's so much space. It would be nice to plant, make some plant beds. I want to make one here around this one.
So I think it's time to go to bed now. It's pretty late, almost 10 o'clock. Almost made it. I'm missing just a few pieces, then this whole thing is finished. So it will be finished tomorrow, and I hope I can mount the wheels, or at least start mounting most of the wheels tomorrow. And then we're getting closer to lifting the whole hull up, and that will be very interesting. I'm really pleased with how the frames turned out. You can see that they are a bit different on this side. No rounded corners, since we're only going to roll the boat in that direction. So I'm just missing a few reinforcements on this side, so I'll fix that tomorrow. Yeah. So the frames, or the square wheels, the support for the hull is now finished. I think it turned out great. I decided not to use as many chokes on the fin frame at the widest part of the hull, because I don't think it's needed. That frame is more or less there just to keep that box in place together with that strap. So the main loads during the turn of the hull will be taken up by 3 bigger frames. The one here in the front, the one in the middle, and the one in the far aft there on the hull. And the main lifting force will be taken up by the middle frame here. That's where we're going to connect a hoist to the frame, and then we will have jacks on all 3 of them to help lifting the boat up from the ground. So next thing now is to add the wheels to the strongback, and we will have 2 wheels up here in the front on the more narrow section of the strongback, and 6 wheels on the wider strongback.
After Vera has gone to bed, I go out in the kitchen garden, do some watering, planting and sowing a little bit more, and check for slugs. It's getting really close now to open the barn doors and move the hull out. And as some of you might know, last year we talked with a company who would come and help us with cranes to turn the hull over. But unfortunately that fell through, so we're now going to do everything on our own. And Johan has already talked about some of the steps, and when we're actually starting the operation we're going to explain how everything goes and why we do it like that, because it's complicated and there are different steps in the operation. Like first we're gonna just bring the hull out, then it's the turn, and then bringing it back in. So it's like 3 main steps in this operation, and hundreds of small steps and details that has to be right. But it feels okay knowing that we're going to do everything on our own, even if we haven't done it before. But in this way, we have total control of the process and no stress. I mean, if it takes days to do this, it's fine. We have a really big tarp that we can put on top of the hull if the weather would go bad and we keep the hull out for a night or two. And it feels really good for us to be able to do it in our own time and pace, because we don't know if we're gonna bump into a problem or issue, and then we can just slowly, without any stress, try to solve that. So all in all, we are excited and nervous and are, so much in our heads and making lists to get this operation done smoothly. And a big part of the preparations has been to get the right equipment that we need to get this done. And we've gathered it all here, and Johan is going to talk a little bit about that now.
First off, we have these jacks, hydraulic jacks, which are rated at 5 tons each. And we have 2 different types. This normal bottle jack, and then we have this one, which is also a normal bottle jack, but with this additional thing here on top, so you can lift things really low down on the toe here, but also up here. This will come in handy if we don't have a lot of space underneath the thing we want to lift, because it's hard to foresee all the different scenarios that we can run into during this operation. So it's good to have options. So that's why we decided to get 2 different types. So we will use these now to lift the whole hull off the ground. And then we'll put some wooden blocks underneath these frames and settle the hull down on those. And then we can cut away all the stands that the hull has been resting on now during the build. And then we'll lift the hull again, remove the wooden blocks under the frames, and settle the whole hull down on the wheels the caster wheels that I mounted yesterday. And then once the hull is settled down on the wheels, it's time to get the hull out of here. But before we can do that, we need to lay out some tracks so we have a good surface for the caster wheels to drive on, especially outside since we have gravel there. And we'll use plywood for that with some wooden sides so the wheels won't go off track. So we'll lay those out 15 meters out. Then we connect some slings, one in the back and one in the front, and we use this lever chain hoist to slowly pull the boat out from the barn. So we'll use one in the front to pull and one in the stern to brake the boat if needed. I don't think it's needed, but we'll have one there. And we'll connect these hoist with the Dyneema line to the hull, and we can pull 6 meters in one go before we need to reset the chain hoist. They only have 6 meters of chain. Yeah, and then once the hull is outside, one problem that we have here is that the pad outside, it's only 9 meters wide, the hull is 4.3 plus the frame, so I don't know, close to 5 meters wide. So we need to move the hull sideways once it's outside, up towards the garage before we turn it the first time. And for that we'll use round wooden beams that will be cut to roughly this length. We'll have multiple, and we'll roll the boat sideways, pull the boat sideways on top of those rollers, and they will be resting under these frames. That will be exciting to do that, and yeah, hopefully that will work out. We could of course use the caster wheels, just turn them and try to roll the boat on that. Maybe we can do that, but then we also need to lay out a new track in that direction. So we're not sure yet. We have the choice to do both options if needed. And once the boat is close to the garage, we can connect the chain hoists that will be connected up to a tree that we have on the other side. A pretty big tree that will be the pulling point down to the frame on the other side of the hull. It's a big tree, it's been surviving many, many storms. So I'm pretty confident that it's strong enough to turn the hull over, put that weight on the tree. But we will also use a counterweight, a pull in the other direction of the tree to take up the same amount of load that we're putting in the opposite direction. And we'll probably connect that to a tractor that will park on the other side of the tree that we'll borrow from a neighbor, you know, just to be sure. And we don't want to hurt the tree, so I think it's nice to just have something taking up that load from the other direction, so that the load more or less is going straight down into the tree trunk when we're pulling. Yeah, the connection point up in the tree will be roughly 6 meters up. So we'll use these snatch blocks together with slings around the tree trunk, so that we don't have to sit up in the tree using the chain hoist. So we can just put the Dyneema line through these blocks and then down to another point where we can control the chain hoists more easily. And before we can start lifting the hull up and turning it over, we need to lock that pivot point in place so it doesn't slide on the ground. And for that we will use these straps. Yeah, we have these extra long web slings. Not so sure what we're going to use them for. Maybe for that counterweight on the other side to connect that up to the tree, something like that. But it feels nice to have some extra gear if needed. And also, in addition to pulling the boat over with the chain hoist, we will also use this type of jacks on the other side to lift the boat a little bit on the opposite side. This is called a high lift or a farm jack. It's a mechanical jack, and they are quite handy since they can lift a weight a pretty far distance. I think it's 60 inch, I don't know what's that in centimeters. Yeah, 120 centimeters or something like that. And this one can take up to 3 tons, and we have 2 of them. You have to be really careful with these though, because they can be quite dangerous if you're not treating them the right way. This is really the danger area in here, because you're lifting the weight with leverage. And before it clicks, all that weight that you're lifting is in your hand, and if you for some reason slip, this will come up with a lot of force, and if you have your head in here, that's not good. So you need to treat this with respect and use them the correct way, and then it's a really good tool. I also decided to get a few more wheels, because I talked a little bit about this before, the cradle boxes that we have. The plan is, once the hull is turned over, that we'll mount these caster wheels on the cradle boxes and then move the boat into the barn again. But if for some reason that doesn't work out very well, maybe we think they're too flexible or something, we also have 5 of these machine skates that can easily take a lot of weight. I think they're rated at 6 tons each, and we have 5 of them. The whole reason that we need to get the hull out of here is because the ceiling height in here. We can't turn the hull around in here, because then we had to remove the whole ceiling, and we don't want to do that. Yeah, another challenge we have is that waste sewage system. It's kind of in the way. So I hope I have made the front framer a bit more narrow, that we can bypass that when we're pulling the boat out. I really hope so. And also when we're pulling the boat sideways, we need to pull the whole hull on top of that. And hopefully we'll have enough room beneath the hull when we're doing that. So that's another thing. Yeah, this was just a short walkthrough to give it a little bit better understanding of what it is we're going to do now when we're turning the hull over, and how we're going to do that, or at least how we have planned to do that. So wish us luck, and today I will start by slowly lifting the hull.
The lifting has begun. Check back next week and see if we might have taken out the hull by then. Thanks for watching, and to everyone who contributes to our production. If you want to come and visit the farm this summer, join our Patreon crew to get the invitation. See you next week!